What is up, guys? Welcome to the Dynasty Fan Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got a good show for you today. Going to be talking about some takeaways from week 5. Crazy week, some crazy scoring. So what's up, Brian? How you doing so far in your leagues?
What's up, man? I'm doing pretty well. It's looking good in a lot of my leagues. I'm actually taking you down. Looks like in one of our dynasties, so that's always nice. Um, but most of my leagues are going well, man. I got a lot of shares of Jalen Hurts and Brees Hall coming through for me big time. In one of my leagues, I'm going to 4-1 with just really Brees Hall at running back. I mean, I started Devin Singletary as my RB2, gave me 5 points, but Brees Hall just a monster game. I'm sure we'll talk about him, but life's good right now, man. For the most part, I have a couple of dynasties where it's not looking good, but that's part of dynasty, right? Rebuilding.
Yep. All right, so let's get into it. So first thing going to be talking about is going to be the old RBs, man. It was a big week for the old RBs. If you look at this top 10 on the week, let me give you some names. Austin Eckler 1, Leonard Fournette 2, Derrick Henry 3, Derrick Henry 4. We got Brees at 3, which is great. Dalvin Cook 5, Nick Chubb 6, Alvin Kamara 7, Christian McCaffrey 8, Tevin Coleman. I said that correctly at 9, Jeff Wilson 11, Barkley 12. So man, Mostert 14. So we went outside the top 12, but crazy is good to see those RBs, right? The older RBs performing, right? Finally get a good game from Kamara. That was good to see. I tried to trade for him in one league. It didn't work. Probably going to be too late now. 23 points for Kamara. So it's good to see these older RBs, man, performing. I'm glad to see CMC too keeping it up. I hope he keeps it up all year. It's good to see. Finally,
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook also.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that that was one of the questions I kept getting asked in the TikTok live stream this morning is what RBs do you like as buy lows? And Kamara was definitely on this. We said Cook, we said Kamara, we said Henry kind of already popped up, but for sure, Cook and Kamara, their prices are definitely going to go up if you haven't traded for them yet. And Tevin Coleman, man, oh my gosh. I didn't even know he was on the 49ers. How about that?
It
Last
was
I
rough.
thought he was on the Jets. I mean, he literally just flew in from a plane from New York to San Francisco, and they threw him in there. And he gets 20 points. It's just crazy.
Yeah, 21 points. And cool about it was also Jeff Wilson, man, 20 points. So definitely good to see these older RBs performing. Definitely Kevin Coleman's going to be a top waiver ad, I'm sure, coming up. So now let's transition. We got the older RBs. Now let's talk about the young RBs. We got the rookie RBs, man. Pierce, continue to do it. You talked about Brees Hall. And also, man, now Kenneth Walker he looked good, man. Rashad Penny down, I think it was a fracture, right? He fractured his
Shin.
tibia or the big bone, man. And so they're saying probably right most likely season ending. So not good for Rashad Penny. So now Kenneth Walker gets a shot. He gets in there and he does good, man. He broke off a big run. So Kenny Walker, man, I have him stashed in a couple lineups, and I think it's going to be Kenny Walker season now, rest of the way.
I agree, man. Kenny Skywalker, you got to go get him. If he's available on waivers, he has to be the number one guy if he's available. Most of our leagues, you know, he's rostered. I think he's rostered in most leagues, but if he's available, he's definitely the guy I think we'll talk about, at least mention. Because like I said, he's probably rostered, but he looked great, man. He's a rookie that has explosion, can be very explosive, and so he looked great. And just because of the sheer volume now, right? He's gonna be in the game with no Penny. I mean, their other running backs are DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. I mean, it's not looking pretty. So if you have Kenny Walker, he's probably a start. He's probably RB2 at the least, an RB2.
Yeah, he went 8 for 88, man. So no targets, but 8 for 88 and a touchdown. That's solid, 11 yards per carry. And then we'll go on Brees Hall, dude. Brees Hall did good. He got vultured. He could have had even more points. He was the RB2 or RB3 on the week with 27.7 fantasy points. Gets vultured by 2 touchdowns. Michael Carter, respectable, was actually, I think it was RB16 for Michael Carter, but it was really just 2 touchdowns. It was like, he was
Yeah.
like 10 for 20 yards, but he got 2 TDs, man.
It was
One.
smoke and mirrors, man. The Michael Carter, and we were watching the game together. We were laughing. you know, uh, Brees Hall, man. I mean, he busts off 60-yard catch, gets tackled at the goal line, and then they bring in Michael Carter for the touchdown. I
Twice.
was
It was
like,
like a 69
twice.
yard.
I was
God.
like, wow. But Brees Hall, man, this is what was good about Brees Hall. He had 18 carries for 97 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he's a workhorse back, and to see that as a rookie is pretty amazing because he really only had 2 targets. He had 2 targets. He caught both passes for 100 yards. 100 yards on 2 passes. I mean, the guy is electric. He's explosive. He's definitely going to be my keeper in our league. We have a redraft where we are allowed to keep one keeper in the round that you draft him. I
It
drafted him in round 4, I believe, or 5. So
was
he's
three.
definitely my keeper. It wasn't 3, but it was probably
There's no
4.
way it was 4 or 5.
This is a
Breeze.
10-team league. It's a 10-team league. I think it was 4.
All
But
right,
it's
and then
pretty awesome.
also
He saved me. He's saving me in a lot of leagues because I'm RB thin. I lost Javante in a lot of leagues, but Brees is saving me. He's a RB1 rest of the season. I think he's going to be top 10.
yeah, definitely him and even Damian Pierce, man. 26 attempts, 26 carries, and then of course 5 targets. That's what we love to see with Damian Pierce. Get you 20 points. So I think Damian Pierce also rest of the way as an RB1. So we'll go ahead and let's get into some other running backs. Let's go to a dud, man. AJ Dillon, dude. He just keeps on putting like single digit fantasy points, just he's really the main difference. I was worried about him in the sense about being like a touchdown dependent Damian Harris, right? And week 1 I thought okay, that was shattered because he came out, he got 6 targets I think week 1. Then he comes out, it's pretty much dwindled since Lazard is back, Tanya's back. He's not really getting any targets. It went to 3, then 2, then 2. I don't know what he got this week, but it couldn't have been anything. Maybe I think it was
Zero,
0. Yeah,
zero.
so 0 this week. So that definitely is just crushing for his fantasy output. So AJ Dillon, I am worried. I know a lot of people are going to think he's a buy low. They can get him from me if they want. I'm definitely worried about AJ Dillon long term, especially without getting the no targets there in Green Bay.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's just very interesting. And the thing that has kind of helped him at least give you a little bit of points was the goal line work and also the rush attempts, right? 10 attempts week 1, 18, week 2, week 3, 12, week 4, 17, but today only 6. Only 6 attempts and also no passes, no targets in the passing game. So, I mean, it's looking like it's going to take an injury to Aaron Jones for him to be like that RB1 that we think he can be, but the workload, the volume is just not there right now. So yeah, that's what it's looking like. I traded for him. I definitely I'm a believer in AJ Dillon, but more so in Dynasty. I needed a running back. I traded a 2023 second for AJ Dillon. So I thought that was a fair deal, and he's still young for Dynasty. So I know we're not really talking Dynasty, but if you are in Dynasties, I think he's definitely a buy low right now. Maybe not redraft, but I still like him in Dynasties.
Yeah, possibly no Aaron Jones next year, right? So I see the appeal, but for this year, if you're competing, man, I definitely don't mind moving on from him. It's just been disappointing. And also they were like ahead, so that was what was kind of concerning too. These guys were ahead, early on, and it still just didn't get any work really.
Yeah, and that's one thing I wasn't sure about because the game was in the morning. So I watched the first half. I think they were up 17-3. And then
Yeah, they were.
I jumped on the live stream for TikTok to answer the start sit questions and trade questions. So I basically missed the first half. When I got off the stream, I checked my phone and I see that they lost. How did they lose that game? I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, the Giants, man, 4-1, have to be the worst 4-1 team in the NFL that I've seen in a while, man. The Jets look better to me than the Giants do, at least for fantasy wise. But Saquon's keeping them afloat, man. You got to give quick credit to Saquon and the coaching staff also,
Yeah,
because they don't have any wide receivers there.
yeah. So going into some more RBs, we have JRob and Etienne, man. I don't know. I was been, we love Etienne here. We've been receiving a lot of hate, especially on some of our older videos where we talked about Etienne over JRob, right? And Etienne has just really not gotten the opportunities, but when he's had them, he's made some big plays he's done a lot with a little, right? And this game, pretty much does a lot with a little again. He gets a little bit more work, gets 71 yards, right, with 10 attempts. So 10 carries, 71 yards. Then he gets three receptions for 43 yards. So definitely a solid night, man. And then you got JRob, man, gets the same. So JRob 10 carries, 27 yards. Gets the same amount of carries as JRob, gets a lot more yards. Then you talk about targets or receptions. JRob gets 2, only 12 yards out of it. Etienne gets 43 out of 3 receptions. So I think Etienne slowly but surely is going to start creeping in and getting more and more work from JRob, man.
That's what it looks like, man. I mean, we've seen 2 weeks in a row now where James Robinson has basically put up duds. Compared to those RB1s that he had in the first 3 weeks. He was a top 5 RB the first 3 weeks of the season. Last 2 weeks of the season, 2.9 fantasy points and then 5.9 fantasy points. So, man, it's looking like hopefully you sold high on James Robinson.
That's
Um,
exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
but that's what it's looking like, man. I mean, and we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I like James Robinson. He's a great story, but it's looking like ETN is getting more and more snap share. He's getting the same amount of carries, and ETN has always been a great wide receiver. He's a great pass catcher, and so if he's going to start getting that also, I mean,
Yeah. So now let's get into some wide receivers. So a couple of crazy things. We got to start. I guess if we're going to go with wide receivers, we got to start off with Gabe Davis, man. What in the world? I don't know what to do with Gabe Davis. I mean, because if you had Gabe Davis, I want to know how many people started him. On the start sit show, we said basically that he is a must start this week. We had him starting over a lot of guys, and the reason for it was McKenzie out, no Knox, right? He's been losing a lot of targets, man, to McKenzie. McKenzie sneakily in there has been getting a lot of targets. This week, I thought he'd get a lot more opportunity without those two players in. And man, he really didn't. He only got 6 targets, but it did not matter. 3 receptions. The thing was like 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. So ridiculous, man. Gabe Davis is just, he blew my mind this week, man. I don't know what to do with him, but I know that a lot of people probably sat him based on the last 2 performances. Hopefully you played him and he got you a lot of points in your lineup. But what do you think about Gabe Davis, man?
it's like you said, man. We really just, I'm puzzled, right? That's the easy way to put it is I'm puzzled. I don't know. I don't have any shares of Gabe Davis. In a lot of our leagues, he seemed to be creeping up into the fourth, fifth round. In some leagues, even earlier than that. So I don't have a lot of shares of him. I got a lot of shares of Diggs. So if I'm getting Diggs, I'm not really getting Davis. I do have him in best balls, and I'll tell you what, I love him in best balls, man. If you have Gabe Davis in best balls, that's where you want him, right? But I don't know, man. You had to take that he might be big play dependent, and I still think that could be true. I mean, week 1 he had 4 catches. Okay, he didn't play week 2. Week 3 he had 3 catches.
And the
Week
targets is like 5,
yeah,
and then last it
yeah.
was like 3. I think it was like 3 or 4
Week
targets.
4, 1 catch.
How many
Today,
targets?
three targets in week 4. Today, 6 targets, 3 catches. So, it's looking like, he really is big play dependent. Now, those plays are like ridiculous, but I mean, I don't know. Is this going to continue? I mean, it really is tough. I mean, but you're right. I had a lot of questions. Gabe Davis, and a lot of wide receiver twos, and I said because of the situation, I prefer Gabe Davis, no McKenzie and no Knox. I was saying to go ahead and put Gabe Davis into your lineups, flex him in most situations. But I mean, he is going to be like a little bit of a, I don't know, just somebody that he might lose you some weeks. He's definitely going to win you some weeks, right? If you started him today, like I went up against him in a dynasty, he smashed me. But I mean, if you started him in week 3, if you started him in week 4, did you lose those weeks with him starting and giving you 2 points and 6 points as your wide receiver 2? Probably. So I don't know, but I mean, he was great today. So you got to definitely give him credit.
Yep, definitely, man. So I don't know, man. Going forward, it's hard to sit that, man, that type of opportunity and potential, And really, I thought the targets would be, I mean, a lot more. I thought he'd get like 10 targets. That's really what the thinking was. But man, if you'd have told me he's only getting 6, I thought like, it's probably a decent game, But man, I think he's like wide receiver 1 right now. So just ridiculous, man. Off of 3 receptions, that is crazy, man. So transitioning to some more receivers, continuing, man. Look at that. Sneakily, Lockett and Metcalf, both in total points, are top 25 receivers. So Geno Smith, man, doing good things with Lockett and Metcalf still.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, if you would have told me before the season, we were all saying, everybody was saying that Jerry Jeudy and Sutton were going to be top 20 receivers, or at least top 24, 25 receivers with Russ. And that hasn't happened. You can blame Russ. You can blame the injury on Jeudy. You can blame chemistry, the offensive coordinator. I don't know. But we're not going to talk about that. But we are going to talk about is that nobody thought that DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett would be basically top 24 wide receivers with Geno Smith. With Geno Smith, I mean, you got to give the Seahawks credit. You got to give Geno Smith credit, right? They're putting him in good situations, and he's finding these guys. And the targets that these guys are getting, they're getting deep balls down the field. These are not like dink and dunk passes. Tyler Lockett caught a huge, like 40-yard touchdown. DK's had, I think, 2 weeks in a row now with 40, 50-yard touchdown passes. So, I mean, and Metcalf dropped a touchdown in the end zone that he normally would have got. It was a little slant pass. He was open, hit him in the hand. So he could have had even a bigger game, and so could have Geno. So, I mean, if you have Metcalf, if you have Lockett, they're solid wide receiver 2 options. I think they have to be in your lineup, depending on, obviously if you have better wide receivers. But I mean, these guys are definitely guys that I'm going to be playing.
Yeah, what a steal Lockett was, man. He was like round 10, 11 at least, dude. So right now he's wide receiver 3 on the week. Wide receiver 3, and DK is wide receiver 12. So dude, Geno Smith, we'll see how it keeps going, man. But so far it's doing pretty good, man. I think DK now is pretty much a must start. I mean, it's kind of hard to sit him. Just we get a lot of start sit questions about DK looking like a must start right now. So we'll go ahead and go into, just in passing, I want to mention it, right? I don't want to say Diami Brown, but Jacoby Meyers, dude, he's been solid. 7 for 111 and a touchdown. He's back. So Jacoby Myers also a solid week. And then we can also talk about one person I want to talk about is Rondale Moore. I put Dortch up there because pretty much Dortch season is over, right?
Yeah, thanks Dortch for helping us out. Those maybe week 2 and 3, if you played Dortch and you got you some points, thanks. But now it looks like Rondale Moore is going to be the guy.
Yeah, pouring out for Dortch. I think Rondale Moore was like 8 for 70, kind of similar numbers to kind of what Dortch was getting. Let me see what Rondale Moore was. He was 7 receptions for 70. Yeah. So that's solid, man. So it's good to see Rondale Moore coming back, right? We had a lot of shares of Rondale Moore. We really liked him, right? We got him like with some early mid seconds, most of our drafts, our rookie drafts. So it's good to see Rondale Moore finally, right? Get a little bit of work in there, get some targets, get some receptions. Because he's explosive, man. He can make some big plays. So I'm glad to see Rondale Moore mixing it up in there.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree. And then also the other thing that he does do with his speed, I mean, maybe we'll get him in some jet suites, and maybe he can get some rushing on the ground too to kind of help us out. So we'll see, something to look forward to moving forward. But I loved Rondale Moore. He was a very great explosive player coming out of college. Just hasn't been healthy. That's the biggest thing. Is he going to be able to stay healthy, right? He's so small. Um, is he going to be able to last, health wise in the NFL? And so, but yeah, still have a couple shares of him in Dynasty. So I'm gonna need him, man. I'm gonna need him for bye weeks in a couple of leagues that I'm in. So hopefully he can keep up this production.
Yep. And then we will transition to some more receivers. Another pair of rookie wide receivers, man. Pickens and Pierce. Pickens, another solid performance, man. 6 for 80. You like to see it. 14 fantasy points. Then, so no touchdown. He's still getting you 14. I think it was very similar stat last week, right? I think it was very similar. Then you also have Alec Pierce, dude, looking like the wide receiver 2 there, claiming that spot. Only 59% of the snaps. He goes 8 for 9. So 8 receptions for 80 yards. So 16 points for Alec Pierce, the rookie. So kind of followed up based on last week. Last week he got 12 points, right? Only 40% of the snaps. He went 4 for 6. So he went like 4 for 80 last week. Goes 8 for 80 this week. So 12 points and 16 points. So it's definitely solid to see. Alec Pierce is going to be a very popular waiver wire name tomorrow, basically.
Yeah, I agree, man. He was somebody we were talking about after the Thursday night game, uh, and so I definitely think that he's somebody that's going to be on the waivers in a lot of leagues. The Indianapolis Colts really don't have anybody in the wide receiver position besides Michael Pittman. So um, he's definitely a guy that I think will start to get more snaps. I think the coach even mentioned that in the press game, um, in the press game conference that that he's earning snaps with the plays that he's making. He made one catch that was like behind him. It was a really good catch, like behind him. He like turned and caught it. So I think that he's definitely going to be somebody that's going to get more snaps because I mean Paris Campbell, I mean Mike Strawn, I mean who are these? Doolin I guess has flashed a little bit, but Alec Pierce is definitely looking like the wide receiver too there.
So another person we want to talk about, right, just in passing, is Allen Robinson, man. I think it was 3 for 12 again. He keeps getting like 12 yards, 15 yards. Like, dude, Allen Robinson. I mean, it's done. Like, in my opinion, it's done. We get a lot of start sit questions on Allen Robinson. I'm not picking Allen Robinson anymore. I haven't picked him really since week 1 over a lot of players. I think he's done. Right? He had a good career, but I'm done already with Allen Robinson. What about you?
Yeah, man, it's kind of funny. I was trying to acquire him in dynasties, right? Not in redrafts. I didn't really draft him because we talked about this a lot, but a lot of these older wide receivers I just didn't draft. I liked other guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Kirk, Elijah Moore, who I don't know, that didn't pan out well today. But I just liked a lot of the other younger wide receivers, right, where Allen Robinson was going. And then, but in Dynasty, I thought I was trying to get him because I was intrigued with Matthew Stafford and all they have is Cup there. But I mean, it just looks bad, man. It looks bad. I mean, that's all you
Yeah.
can say. He's done. He's got to be done, man. It's disappointing, but he had a great career. He's probably droppable at this point. I mean, if it was me, like you're telling me, if I'm dropping Allen Robinson for Alec Pierce, I would do that right now. I'll take Alec Pierce.
Yeah, absolutely. I would do the same. So a couple of more, some honorable mentions we're going to talk about. Rhamondre Stevenson, man. I think Damian Harris got hurt. I think Damian Harris is banged up. Rhamondre Stevenson got 25 carries, 161 yards. Rhamondre has looked good. He's looking solid, man. I think he was like round 10 also. I got him like round 10 in a couple of drafts, maybe 9. So Rhamondre, big game from Rhamondre, and also Raheem Mostert, man. Goes 18 for 113 yards, gets a touchdown, gets 1 reception, right? 3 targets, 19.20 fantasy points. So Raheem Mostert, if you have him, right, enjoy it right now. I would probably be looking to move him, man, to be honest. I'm worried about Raheem Mostert, just similar to Rashad Penny. I don't want to talk about Rashad Penny too much, but I know he took a bad injury, right? It was a terrible injury. But with him and with Mostert, I really would be looking to move off of Mostert. I was trying to sell Rashad Penny a couple weeks ago, to be honest, but now with Mostert, I'm a little bit leery also, man. He just one of those players that just continues to get injured almost every season, right? He's a top waiver wire pickup. Sterling Shepard's another one, right? And they just continue to seems to just get injured. You don't want to say injury prone, but with a few players, it sure seems that way. So if I have Mostert, I do have him in one league. Actually, I dropped him, man. I dropped him this week. I dropped him because I was thinking like, I'll move on. And man, he just crushed this week. So I would be looking to move on with Mostert. I think Chase Edmonds too, right? Is a sneaky little buy right now, right? A lot of people are down on him. But if Mostert were to go down, which we've seen many times in the past, right? I wouldn't mind having Edmonds for cheap right now.
I'll sell him too. Come
I said for
talk to me
cheap.
after the show. I'll sell him to you. I have him in a redraft league. I don't have him in dynasties, but I have him in a couple redrafts because I liked Edmonds, right? I got him in round 10, 11 as my RB3, 4 in a lot of leagues. But man, he put up like point 0.1 today. 1 carry for 1 yard, something like that. So I don't know, man. They're not playing Edmonds. They don't like him. It's probably going to take a Mostert injury for them to give Edmonds some run. Um, or at least to give him a lot more snaps, the kind of snaps where I feel comfortable starting him.
Okay, so before we close, we have to have you talk about Hockenson because you were talking about all last week and he did
Yeah,
a victory lap. So you got to talk about him today. Did he put up a 0, man?
he didn't put up a 0, but it was bad, man. It was real bad. It wasn't good. He put up a 1.6. That's what he put up. 1.6.
That's
So he
not
had
bad.
4 targets, 1 catch. 1 catch for 6 yards, 1.6 in PPR.
Could have been worse, I
So
guess.
that was pretty bad, man. I mean, I thought the Patriots after that game last week, Bill Belichick is notorious for taking away like the big play option or like just making you uncomfortable. So I didn't think he would have a great game, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. But to be fair, the Lions were terrible, right? Jared Goff was under pressure all game. He didn't look comfortable, never got any rhythm, but nobody really did anything on the Lions, right? Jamal Williams, who we thought was a RB1. Basically, he's an RB1 play. I was telling people to play Jamal Williams today, right? He really didn't
Yeah.
perform either, right? So you got to give the Patriots credit, man. They had a great game plan and they just made the Lions look terrible.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully, moving forward, Hockenson will, be better. He did. They did throw to Hockenson in the end zone. It was intercepted. So
We'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that Chiefs game, man. I'm hoping Sky Moore gets in there. We'll see. We'll see if Juju. I think Juju's questionable, so I think
yeah,
MVS was a little banged up too. So we'll see. I'm hoping Sky Moore gets in there. And Pacheco. I'm excited to see Pacheco tomorrow. So we'll see.
yeah, for sure. We'll see.
All right, guys. So that's all we have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, please be sure to give us a like and a subscribe. Search for us also on Apple and Spotify for our podcast. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later.